I think the two of you spoke with someone, one of our colleagues and friends, who asserted that Tether-on-Tron has already won, and won in a way that it would be a monopoly, basically.
Kind of unassailable. Just move on. Don't fight over that battle anymore. Yeah.
And I find that, I mean, clearly it's true that it's number one right now. Tether is number one as the issued stablecoin, and Tether-on-Tron, that pair, is number one. So that's a fact. We can all look at the data. I find it like super unlikely though, that it like gets near 100% market share and everything else loses. Because all we see right now is an explosion of new stablecoin issuance and platforms, and then it's a combinatorial, from there, like all the different pairs. And I think we're only, like with the Genius Act, we're only going to see more. Like
we see explosion of creation, but do we see explosion of usage of these other ones?
Well,
not yet, but
we'll see. Like we just saw, I think in the past week, I think it was Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, or some kind of like governmental body within Wyoming, issued their own stable coin. And the Genius Act is a framework that supports that. So banks, governments, state level, federal level in the US, all will be creating stable coins.
So can we just pause for a second? What do we imagine that would enable or support? Or like, what is it like if I were a citizen of Wyoming, or like a resident, that I could go to my bank, put in fiat dollars and get the stable coin? But what do I do with it? Do I pay other Wyoming people, or is it interchangeable? When I go to Buenos Aires, I can pay for stuff interchanged with Tron, and
So I'll start with I'll share like the high level benefits, and then we can talk about the challenges to get there, like interoperability being the big challenge. But setting aside challenges, what does a digital dollar give you over traditional dollars? First of all, 24/7 settlement. You don't have to, you don't have like bank holidays and stuff like that. You can exchange money anytime you want, and you can do it anywhere you want. So like your example, you can go to, did you say Argentina or wherever, and pay someone in dollars just from your mobile app. So I think that's the high level vision that anyone or everyone has around stable coins. And like, if I'm using like a JPMorgan stable coin and I go to Argentina and they're using Tether-on-Tron, or if that's what their wallet receives, if I can pay them and not have to worry about those details, that would be amazing. Then everyone's paying each other in dollars around the world.
But in a sense, if we want interoperability and 24/7 settlement, why don't we just all converge on one?
Yeah, well, because business reasons, right? So like
people want that sweet yield.
But yeah, I mean, if you're JPMorgan or something like any other company, you don't like, already Tether's like making insane profits, right? So if I'm a bank, I want those profits. Like if I have a huge customer base and I'm giving my customer base that I've acquired, my customer base, digital dollars, why do I want to give all the profits to Tether or Circle or Coinbase or another company?
And for people that don't know, when Steve's talking about the profits, like what they're doing is they're holding treasuries on the back end, which pays whatever 4 or 5% at least now, and their users get access to dollars. So they're literally like, when Tether is just printing billions of dollars, they're literally just holding treasuries. It's like, in some ways, since Google, the greatest business model in the last 20 years.
So it's more profitable on a per employee person basis, right?
Yeah.
And again, I mean, what we talked about last week, I think the obvious answer, why is Stripe and Paradigm working on a new layer one Tempo that's intended to be a stablecoin layer one? They don't, well, I think for that, they don't want Coinbase's base to run away with being the underlying platform. So there's competition for the platform and then the stablecoin issuance on top. And we'll see, like it's unclear at both layers. It's unclear how competitive it'll ultimately be. It's very competitive now in terms of like lots of options. But we'll see how much consolidation there is for each. And obviously if you're in the lead right now, you are unlikely to be investing in technologies that make it interoperable. Although having said that, even Tether, who has the lead, they've issued Tether on Bitcoin and then Ethereum and then Tron and Solana, and now they're coming back to, or they're exploring coming back to Bitcoin on Taproot assets on their own RGB based system, and who knows if they're exploring on Spark as well. But like Tether clearly has shown they're agnostic to underlying platform, and they need to provide interoperability between all those if they want to create a good customer experience. So even they're incentivized to do that.
Yeah, it seems like they would feel a little bit trapped by Tron, right? Like they don't want to be stuck on Tron.
Totally, it's not theirs.
But I worry, like, so I asked, why should there be a lot of these? And you mentioned, well, JPMorgan wants to, they have their customer base and they want to capture the sweet yield. But like, if I'm a customer of JPMorgan, why do I want to take some stablecoin that's not really useful anywhere?
Well, I mean, we can get into interoperability, but I mean, if we assume a world in which there's interoperability, then the customer doesn't even have to know about that, think about that, or worry about that. It just works. And why would they pick JPMorgan digital dollar over Tether? Well, if I'm a JPMorgan customer, number one, I've probably never heard of Tether. Number two, if I've heard of it, I've read all this horrible FUD and it sounds like some kind of scam, right? So there's tons of people who either have no brand affinity to it or are scared of it. And I've been a 30-year customer at JPMorgan or whatever. Which one am I going to choose? Obviously, I'm going to trust JPMorgan. They're my bank. They've been my bank my whole life. So to me, that seems obvious why they'd pick.
But it seems obvious why they would choose to do it if interoperability is solved. But at the point interoperability is solved, it also seems like less important where you got them, really. Like, so yes, you have a relationship with JPMorgan, but will JPMorgan be able to capture excess profits if these are fully interchangeable in commodity?
Well, they have a large, for the reasons I think I just said. I mean, if they have a huge customer base and they'll just capture their existing customer base and whoever other customers they have. I mean, they won't necessarily like win a new customer because they have JPMorgan coin.
Right.
They'll capture customers for all the other reasons they capture customers. Yeah. And then as far as interoperability, I mean, Stripe paid $1 billion for bridge.xyz.
Exactly.
That is an interoperability solution. Circle has an interoperability solution for USDC. I actually don't know offhand if Tether has one as part of their wallet development kit, WDK, but I assume they do, at least within their own family of Tether. And then there's undoubted, I mean, anytime you get $1 billion acquisition from Stripe, I'm sure there's like a dozen startups that are trying to do some kind of bridge solution as well. And then if you look at Taproot Assets and Spark, they both also offer interoperability. Because if your Taproot Assets or Spark, those are platforms that are trying to compete, enter the game. They have no market share right now. It's early. So they obviously need to promote interoperability because they're trying to, they need to interoperate with USDC on Base, for example.
Yeah.
Do we know if the interoperability, does it, like a bridge.xyz, do they interoperate like both the stablecoin and the underlying L1, or do they interoperate one or the other or both?
Well, in theory, it can be both. I think bridge.xyz is both, but I'm not quite certain. But certainly in theory, and definitely Taproot Assets can do both. I think technically, if it's custodial, then it's, I mean, if it's all this is done on a server, it's like quite easy to do technically. There's going to be middlemen and fees and stuff like that. There's going to be regulatory scrutiny and concerns, like can Taproot Assets or Spark or any of these remain KYC free is a big question, because regulators might go to any of those, whether you call it a bridge or DEX or exchange or swap or whatever word you want to call it. Like if I have stablecoin X on platform, P1, and I'm trading with you and you have stablecoin Y on P2, somehow that has to get converted. There's a variety of different solutions there, but regulators can go to whoever's doing those swaps and be like, hey, this is an MSB. This feels and looks and smells like an MSB. I'm calling it an MSB. You need to be licensed and you need to KYC. And I don't, that seems I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems inevitable to me.
Honestly, the more I see all this, so it's a very interesting set of like incentives and tensions here, right? Because like, for example, right, you've got Stripe, they pay $1 billion to do Bridge. In theory, Bridge exists just to swap between the different stable coins. But now Stripe is going to launch their own L1. I don't know if they're going to do their own stable coin next on top of that, remains to be seen. But that's like pretty big tension with their acquisition of Bridge. And so honestly, the way I see more and more of this playing out, this actually just hearing you describe like that, making me more bullish on Bitcoin as the swap or interoperability layer in the long run. Because these all just feel like different intranets, just like all the different cryptocurrencies again, right? Like, you know, maybe they'll start with interoperability, but there will certainly be fights where, you know, okay, you're not giving me enough of my juice between Stripe coin and Tether. And so, sorry, the interoperability is lost. And that's just like a worse customer experience. So I don't know exactly how this is going to flow, and maybe the first round, and also like what happens like for the long tail, like, you know, maybe there's not a ton of users on whatever, some new stablecoin that gets launched. Maybe there's like 1,000 and maybe there's 1,000 of those, and those start aggregating over time. I think somehow, and also the sort of gray market use cases, right? So like maybe you've got your Stripe coin and, you know, Stripe is being fully compliant, but like all of a sudden the UK says, actually, sorry, like, you know, you can't make your donation to Alex Jones or whatever the next like controversial thing is. People are like, what the fuck? I thought I had $1. Yeah, exactly. PBJ. And so I don't know, like I don't know exactly how it's going to roll, but again, the beauty of Bitcoin is internet versus intranet. And so I don't know if it's going to be, the first step of that is centralized, where it's just like Bridge or someone actually just runs a Bitcoin or a Lightning node and they can swap in and out of Taproot assets and all these, you know, whatever L1 stable coins. Maybe that's step one, but it feels like on a 10+ year time horizon, internet always wins, open wins. Like there's just going to continually be new restrictions placed on the regulated stable coins, and not just government restrictions. There's just going to be like sort of mafioso style battles between these companies, whereas anyone that can like route through Bitcoin, it'll just work. So I don't know how that's going to happen, but internet over intranet.
So it feels to me like there's just so many competing business interests that I just have a hard time seeing how everyone's going to be like cool with Tether being the only issuer. Like whether you're Stripe or Coinbase or JPMorgans of the world, to just like hand over that to Tether so that trillions of dollars is all on Tether, and that one company would be making like hundreds of billions of dollars of profits a year or more.
Well, I think the question is,
I find that very hard to believe. So these other very large, powerful actors are going to compete with that. And I just find it hard to believe that somehow the user experience leads to no swaps or bridges, and everyone's using Tether-on-Tron. I think there will be swaps and bridges. Lots of people are working on it. And because of that, it will be a solved problem. And then people are going to use whatever product is most natural fit for them.
One more request for product or business I've been hoping to see for a very long time. Someone still needs to build Lightning Network bridges between any of these shitcoin chains that support HTLCs and Bitcoin. Because even if, you know, some of these chains don't want to participate in swaps, as long as they support HTLCs, there's a huge opportunity here to build that interoperability layer between Bitcoin and any of these chains. I don't know if Stripe or any of those guys will support HTLCs or not, but if they do, that's a huge opportunity. Someone should build that company. And if you do, send me a message.
Cool. Yeah. And just for the record here, I'm not claiming that I believe USDT Tron is the only solution, but it feels like if there are going to be others, there's a lot to navigate here. And it feels like maybe new use cases that show up are more likely to be the places where there's space for them. Or like the existing use cases. I think the existing use cases, you know, maybe global South use cases probably work well enough for the time being. So you kind of need, I think, new use cases to come in. Like I have dabbled in stablecoins out of curiosity, but I never used them for anything. And so is there somebody like JPMorgan who would help reveal a use case to me. I'm guessing this is the same for you guys. You probably never actually use them, right? Like you've dabbled. Steve and I have sent some back and forth like years ago, but we don't actually do any. Something like it was Tether and or USDC on various L1s. So I remember the reason I remember it is because it was so surprisingly hard to do anything you wanted to do. You're like, because you have to know, oh, Tether, but it's Tether on top of Polygon or some other L1. So you kind of have to know that pair, and then that kind of makes the whole experience really bad. So my point is not that USDT on Tron wins everything at all times. I think USDT on Tron wins at what it's doing, which is kind of a newly emergent kind of global South use case of a dollar-like thing. But like we don't have any stable coins really integrated into our lives. And so I think the opportunity, if there are new things, it's to serve sort of new use cases. I think we're one example of a new use case that is underserved or not served well by the, if we need 24/7 settlement. But yeah, just how it's all going to play out. It's kind of fascinating, hard to predict. I don't feel like I have a silver bullet prediction for how this thing is gonna turn. Do you guys?
Andy has an interesting point. He's saying in the chat, Argentina leads the region in terms of cryptocurrency value received, which I assume is primarily Tether, at estimated 91.1 billion, only slightly ahead of Brazil's estimated 90.3 billion. If that's true, I mean, those are pretty big numbers. So I guess kind of gets to your point that maybe there's going to be network effects in different use cases. I think the question is also going to be like, okay, well, if Stripe has a shit ton of merchants too, right? So they have a clear network effect. So maybe it's kind of like the US bifurcates and like they're either going to use Circle or Stripe's coin. Global South uses Tether. I want to see who's going to build the stable coins for the AIs, which is your
and how does the Stripe, I mean, I get Stripe, big payment network, a lot of different, UIs that they could expose, but I'm trying to imagine, how does the Stripe stablecoin work? Like, do they get a merchant, surfacing the stablecoin on Tempo, and then I come to it with a like, do I have some wallet then that pays that way, or can I just use Apple Pay and it kind of converts to the stablecoin? Or like, yeah, well, I feel like owning a network like that without the use case necessarily demanding a stablecoin, I'm not sure I just see where that bridge, if you can pardon.
So imagine a world where everyone has a stablecoin wallet on their phone, and then they go to a website or they want to make a purchase, and they're presented with Stripe. Instead of paying with Visa, they pay with their mobile wallet.
But so the imagine part though, we need to imagine a world where I start carrying around a stable coin in some mobile wallet, right? Like that, sure. To me, that feels like
there's
big.
Trust Wallet has like hundreds of millions of downloads. And while that's his Trust Wallet and MetaMask and Phantom, that's more like gambling casino use case. But I mean, like, you can definitely imagine a world where there's hundreds of millions, billions of people that have a wallet with stablecoin.
Well, I guess
those mostly overlapping with the BA and
exactly.
The who, yeah.
So, and I think this was our mutual friend's point, is like the people that would download a stablecoin wallet are the people in the global South. So I think his point is you have network effects in countries like Argentina and Brazil where people actually want and need dollars. Why would any of us download a stablecoin wallet? I'm not saying that we wouldn't, but like if we have Apple Pay, and maybe they can integrate with Apple Pay, but like unless there's some new thing that we can only get with the stablecoin,
right.
Like
because I can use Apple Pay even when the banks are closed. I have 24/7 access to pay whoever I want with Apple Pay, right?
Yeah. Right. But
how sophisticated of you.
I mean, it's similar to the Bitcoin pitch for merchants, cut out Visa. Like you want to cut out these exorbitant fees, right? So
I get why they want to cut out Visa, yeah.